Look, I'ma tell you before I even start the story that the level of shenanigans in this story that this man Raphael was on is just different, bro. I guess just be prepared is all I'm saying. But maybe a little less than a couple years ago, I was living in a house with a few different friends I moved in with right after high school. If you've seen the video about the bread lady, this is that same house. So this morning was just like any other morning. I'm sleeping in my bed, my alarm wakes me up, and it's probably about 9 a.m. And I get up and shuffle right over to the kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee. So I'm walking down the hallway, I'm still half asleep, and it was pretty quiet in the house. So I figured either nobody was home or they were all still asleep and that it was just me. So I'm walking down the hallway and I turn around the corner into the kitchen, and then I notice I see this random guy sitting at the kitchen island. Random dude by himself, never seen him before, and I just kind of stopped mid-stride. And it was kind of dimly lit in the kitchen. There was only like one light on from the other room. So I kind of rubbed my eyes and look again. I'm like, am I seeing this right now? And sure enough, random dude was still there, still staring at me. And I don't know who this is. He looked to me around like 20-ish years old, around the same age as us. So I guess I kind of thought he probably knew one of my roommates, but I've never seen this dude in my life before, and we were just standing there staring at each other for a second. It caught me off guard. I mean, not even 25 seconds earlier, I was still sleeping. I thought I might have been dreaming for a second, to be honest. And so I was just like, yo. And he still didn't say anything. He just looked at me and gave me, I think, a little hand wave back. So I was like, all right, and kept walking across the kitchen over to the coffee machine. And the whole time I'm just thinking in my head, like, who is this dude? So I start the cup of coffee and lean against the counter to wait for it to finish. I'm all tired. The coffee machine starts buzzing and humming, and we're just staring at each other and still staring. This was for some reason feeling like some sort of standoff. It was so weird, bro. I felt like I couldn't look away. I mean, he was making me feel like I'm the random guy standing in his kitchen. I mean, I wanted to find out who this man was, but I was so sleepy and confused, still waking up, I couldn't even come up with what to say right now. He was just chilling at my kitchen island, sitting in silence, staring at me like he owned the place. And then my roommate, we'll call him Alex, comes around the corner and he goes, yeah, Raphael, man, I can't get my printer to work. We're probably gonna have to go to the library. And then he turns to me and he's like, oh, this is Raphael. I have a military class with him. And that's when I was able to connect the dots, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess this dude was in the military with my roommate and needed to use his printer, and that's why he was waiting in our kitchen. I don't know why he didn't just say that, but then again, I didn't really ask him either. So the two of them dipped to go use the library printer. The dude didn't say a word the whole time, but this was far from the last encounter I would have with this man. Far from the last encounter, and this was probably the least strange of them all. Actually, without question, the least strange of them all. So a couple weeks go by, and like I said, Raphael and Alex were in the same military class, so they started carpooling. And the class was super early, like 4:30 in the morning or something, so Raphael would be pulling up to our house very early in the morning, at least a couple days a week. And everything started out fine with that. I mean, I was usually sleeping, never really saw him anyways. And then things started to slowly get weird with Raphael. Like a series of weird things started to happen. Things that on their own wouldn't be too crazy, but you combine them all together and something was off. For example, one day my roommate tells the rest of us, he's like, hey guys, so Raphael is wanting to start sleeping in our driveway during the weekdays for the next few weeks. And I was like, what? Why would he want to sleep in his car in our driveway? Like he doesn't have a bed at home or what? And the way Alex explained it was, I guess right before their military stuff, Raphael worked a security job that ended at like 3 a.m. and his house was apparently like 2 hours away in the actual middle of nowhere. So instead of driving all the way from his job back to his house, then back to the military stuff, he realized that a closer option would be our driveway. But then I was like, why doesn't he just park his car anywhere else? Like park it outside the military thing you gotta be at anyways. Why does it gotta be in our driveway? But I was like, whatever. To be honest, I don't care. He can park his car outside and sleep there if he wants. It doesn't make a difference to me. And so he did. He started sleeping in our driveway. So that was a thing for a little bit. Another example is one day, one of our other roommates got up really early in the morning, like when it's still dark out early. So he's walking down the hall and then sees this silhouette all the way across the room in the dark. And he's like, who's that? He thought there was an intruder. And then he turns on the light and gets slapped in the face with the sight of this man Raphael just naked in the corner, in the middle of changing his clothes. Just changing his clothes in our living room, out in the open. Now, unknown to him, Alex had just let Raphael inside the house because Raphael asked if he could come inside to change from his work uniform to his military uniform. So that's why he was there. Man's probably turned the light back off so fast. Like, we had a perfectly good bathroom you could use, or you could just change in your car, but nah, he decided to go do it in the corner of the living room. Another weird thing was, he then started trying to move into our house, and he kept asking about this one room in the house. It wasn't even a bedroom, it was just like this random room we use for storage in the back of the house, had no doors, nothing. But I don't know, maybe he's used to changing with no doors or something. But he kept asking about it, trying to move in, and would not drop the issue. We were like, bro, you can't move in with us. We don't even know you. There's already 4 of us living here. I mean, you already moved into our driveway. And then another thing was, this whole time I thought he was like 19, 20-ish, same age as us, because he looked like it, and he was also in a military program with mostly college-age people. So it's just what I assumed from the day I first met him. But come to find out, this man was actually 30 years old and with 3 kids. Like, what are you so persistent to move in with us for? Alex was like, bro, this Raphael dude is kind of weird. Something is just off with him. And he would tell me these little weird stories here and there about him, like the ones I just mentioned. And eventually he said that he was just gonna stop carpooling with him. And that brings us to this one morning in specific, probably a few weeks after the initial kitchen encounter, where things got crazy. Because things are just starting to ramp up with Raphael. Now by this time, Alex had already told Raphael he didn't need a carpool with him anymore, so Raphael should be nowhere near our house anymore, right? No reason for him to be there. So I go to bed on this particular night, and I was fast asleep, middle of the night, getting a good rest, when all of a sudden, I'm jolted awake from the loudest banging at our front door I've ever heard. I'm talking about aggressive, loud banging. And not only that, but my entire room was lit up with this extremely bright light shining in through my window. It was like somebody was standing out there with a floodlight. So I get jolted awake. I've never felt so confused and mixed up in my life. My room is completely illuminated. I'm almost blinded by this light. It sounds like the SWAT team is at the front door. I'm sitting in my bed. I don't know what's going on outside. So it took me a second to realize I wasn't being abducted by aliens. And then I get up to go peek through the blinds, and I see this car pulled up like 5 feet from our house with the headlights pointing straight through my window. It kind of even seemed like the high beams were on. And of course, it was Raphael's car, that old Toyota that I knew so well. I couldn't see Raphael because the front door that he was banging on wasn't quite in my view, but I knew for sure it was his car, parked right up to our house with the headlights pointing directly into my window. Another weird thing that I noticed was, look, this man was strange, but I noticed that all 4 doors to his car were swung wide open, and the car was blasting like this walkie-talkie radio chatter with people yelling over like radio static and rifle sounds and gunshots in the background. It was the craziest thing. So just to recap here, I get jolted awake, my room is lit up with light, I hear pounding on the front door, there's like soldiers at war being blasted from the car radio, so loud I can hear it from inside my room, and this was all at like 4:30 a.m. So my senses were on overload, I was completely disoriented, thought the world was ending. And then the banging on the door stopped for a second, so I go peek out my blinds a second time to see what's good outside, if he was leaving or what was going on now, and I pull down the blinds, and this man Raphael is right there in front of my window staring at me through the blinds trying to look inside. It shocked me so much I stumbled backwards, I almost fell down. Like, what type of person is peeping through windows at 4:30 in the morning? So now you see what caliber of person we're dealing with here. I mean, what type of person opens all 4 of their car doors and plays war sounds out the radio? I didn't know if that was supposed to be some type of message, like a battle declaration. Anyways, I then hear 2 of my roommates whispering in the hallway right outside my door. Alex is explaining to our other roommate, or trying to explain, what was going on with Raphael today. I come outside in the hall, I'm like, bro, what is happening right now? And Alex is stressing. He's like, I don't know why, this man is going crazy. I told him not to show up to carpool this morning, but he keeps calling me. And he says, look, just don't make any noise and don't go out there. Because if we entertain him at all, he's never gonna leave. Alex has got like 7 missed calls on his phone. So we're trying to stay low-key on the inside. We actually thought he could have a gun on him too, because he used to have this one story he would tell about how he almost accidentally shot his friend one time. Crazy guy, right? So that story was in the back of my mind during this whole thing. Raphael was a wild dude, bro, I'm telling you. So we weren't super keen on going out and interacting with him. We were really just hoping that the problem would just go away on its own. Now, our front door had a frosted glass pane in the middle. It wasn't completely see-through, but you could see shadows and light through it from both inside and outside. And right when it seemed like he was finally about to leave, our fourth roommate, I guess he heard all the commotion and woke up because there was no shortage of commotion going on, and he opens his bedroom and steps out and turns the light on, all of which was in direct view of the frosted glass window on the front door. So Raphael notices the light go on and all this movement, and a whole nother round of banging started up again. We're trying to wave at him to get out of the way, get out of view from the door. We're all pressed up against the wall trying to stay low key, like this dude just blew our cover. And this went on for probably another 5 minutes or so. I didn't know how much more of this the house could take, to be honest. It was built like 70 years ago. I'm looking up expecting to see like sediment or something crumbling from the ceiling. This was crazy. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. But finally, we hear the sound of car doors closing, all 4 of them. The sounds of radio chatter and gunshots is much more muted now. And then we can hear the car backing out, the headlights start moving backwards, and he finally pulled out and left. And we were all just standing there wondering like what actually just happened. Like, this man is legitimately insane. I start telling Alex, look man, you gotta tell him next time you see him, no more sleeping in our driveway, no more early morning, whatever that just was. And Alex is like, yeah, I'm gonna talk to him and I'm done carpooling with him. And after that, Raphael did actually stay away, but only for like 2 weeks, and then he started popping up again, specifically camping out on our driveway. And the thing was, like, he was always coming around, but there wasn't really a clear reason as to why. He was just kind of there. We didn't know if he just really wanted to move into that spare room. Maybe it really was a convenient place for him to sleep. Maybe he wanted to gather info on us so he could kidnap us all one day. We didn't know. But we did actually catch a lucky break when it came to this whole Raphael situation. And that lucky break was actually COVID, and finally got rid of him. COVID didn't kill him. I realized it could have sounded that way. But this was all happening right around the time the Rona was first starting to get serious, and the military stuff that both my roommate and Raphael did was switching from in-person to online. So now that it would be online, Raphael has no excuse to show up at our house anymore, whether it's sleeping in our driveway or blasting war sounds trying to kick down our door. Which, by the way, we never really did get a straight answer as to what was going on that day. So Alex tells us that this is the last week of having his military class with Raphael in person. So we had 1 more week to go, and of course we couldn't get through the week without him showing up one last time, because how could he not? That would be letting us down too easy. So he pulls up to our house one night, one last time, you know, the classic park his car and fall asleep in our driveway for a couple of hours. Now, the previous night, we had to spray down both of our couches because somebody projectile vomited all over them with such force that it actually covered not one, but both couches in our living room. That whole situation could be a separate video on its own, but we had to clean both of them, so we took them outside, sprayed them down, and after doing that, they were soaking wet, so we left them on the side of the house to dry. Now, this is all the evening before the last time Raphael slept in our driveway. I think he even texted Alex that day, asking him if he could come just one last time. And I was up late this night, right? And I was gonna bring the couches in before I went to bed. It was probably around like 3 a.m., but they were still a little damp. So I said, I'm gonna leave them out here overnight and come get them in the morning. And then I went to bed. Now, Raphael wasn't out there when I went to bed, so he must have pulled up shortly after. Now, the next day, I wake up, walk into the living room, and the couches were already put back together, but they were missing some of the cushions. So I asked my roommates where all the other cushions are at, and they were like, we don't know. We were gonna ask you the same thing. And I said, well, they were all there when I checked on them last night at like 3 a.m., and they said they put the couches back together at around 9 a.m. So that's a pretty small time window for some couch cushions to go missing. I'm like, hold on, Raphael was here this morning, right? Alex is like, yeah, he slept in our driveway again. And that's when I knew. It had to have been this man Raphael that stole our couch cushions. He was probably laying there in his '04 Toyota, feeling mad uncomfortable when he spotted our couches laying out by the side of the house and decided to give himself a little upgrade. It had to be him. There's no way. There's no one else that steals damp couch cushions between 3 a.m. and 9 a.m. It had to have been him. And after that morning, that was the last time I ever saw or heard from Raphael again. We never got the couch cushions back. The military stuff went online, so he would just do everything in regards to that from his home, presumably while laying back relaxing on a certain 2 couch cushions, in his home that was apparently far from civilization in the middle of nowhere. Not even sure if he gets internet way out there. I thought that was going to be the next reason for why he had to keep coming to our driveway. Raphael was one of those people that every experience I had with him was just strange, to say the least, and then he vanished. Didn't even feel real. The whole thing just felt like a dream. Like, who is this guy? We may never know.